So I was just notified by the authorities that we can't live off grid. So I guess we'll have to pack it up and move. I should have known this. I was warned about this since even before we moved here. Being on YouTube, I get a interesting perspective on the human condition. And the human condition is just don't do anything. You can't do it, so don't. It's impossible. Don't do it. And the thing is when they tell you you can't do something, they never follow up with a way that you can do something. I used to be a manager for a shelter workshop. In shelter workshop, we hired disabled employees. I'm just using this as an example. And so we had to teach our disabled employees how to work in a manufacturing environment. Well, they were disabled. So there were a lot of things that seemed impossible for them to do. So my supervisors would come up to me. Of course, I made the schedule for all the workers. My supervisors would come up to me and say, "Oh, Janie can't do that." Well, she has to do that because that's our job, to teach her how to do that. And we had to figure out a way to get her to be able to do that. They never came up with a solution. I was always having to teach my supervisors how to come up with a solution so Janie could do this job. And that's how the human condition is. Once you have decided that you can't do something, it's not going to get done. One of the first things I was told I can't do, and they don't know Carolyn, is before we moved here, we were in Arizona. I was making YouTube videos. We were nomads traveling the country. And we were in Coconino National Forest. It was beautiful. We decided we were going to stop living this lifestyle, the nomadic lifestyle. We were going to find a little piece of property and live off grid. A little tiny house. I mean, we actually decided it right there in that national forest. I'll never forget that forest. And so, of course, I made a YouTube video explaining what our plans were. Now, we weren't rich. We're still not rich. And we didn't want to dip into our savings too terribly much. So we set aside a certain amount of money. And of course, people just said, well, you can't find property that cheap. That's impossible. There's no way to do it. You can't find a piece of property that you can live off grid with for under $20,000. If you want a well, oh, forget it. You can't do it. If you want to dig a well, there's another $20,000. So they already priced me out. You can't do it. So I mean, they were talking $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. So I could park a little tiny house on and live. It didn't make any sense. You're gonna have to get a loan. Of course, everybody wants to get a loan. If you can't do anything, then can't get a loan. Don't do it. It's a terrible idea. Well, I mean, within a week or two, Carolyn was finding properties within our budget. And it wasn't too long, she found this place, $4,200. So that was in August. By January, we were up here buying this property. Pretty amazing for something we can't do. We went over to Mom's house, started buying things that we needed, the solar panels, the charge controller, all the inverter, all that. One of the things I had to do was I knew we were gonna have to live in the camper for a while. So we had to get the camper off the truck. Now the camper used the truck as part of its camper. Camper sat on the rail of the truck, and I'm gonna show you here. So right here, you will see this right here sat on the rail of the truck. So there wasn't anything down here. Now there was on the front, but I'm just talking about on the sides. There wasn't anything there. So when you lifted it up, there was just a big hole that you could walk right under and into the camper. While I was at Mom's house, I built a frame out of 2x2s to set the camper on. Now this whole thing weighs 250 pounds, the whole thing. That's all it weighs. So I knew that the 2x2s, if I built it correctly, would hold this just fine. Build it like a house frame with 2x2s instead of 2x4s. But I had to build it pretty light because I had to get the camper, the truck, and all the junk that we were taking down in one trip. Oh, you can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. Well, here it is, sitting right here. We lived in it, what, 9 months? Sitting on this spot right here with that frame. It's amazing what you can't do that gets done. So once my viewers saw the property and they knew that we were going to burn firewood, and they immediately said, you don't have enough firewood to live here. 1.5 acres and not all of it is wooded? Can't be done. And I was sure I could do that. I mean, I was just absolutely positive. How is it that I can't do it? I have 15 years of firewood. I've showed you this. I'll just turn the camera real quick. That's just one wall of it right there. I got walls of firewood everywhere around here. 15 years of firewood, and I haven't cut a stick on, well, I mean, I've cut a couple trees that were in danger of dying. But other than that, haven't cut a stick around here. Now that's 15 cords of firewood. There was another 8 that we used for a heat exchanger for the camper, which I'll get to in a minute. I've counted out the trees. Now that I know how much we use a cord a year, 15 cords, 1 cord a year. I know it takes 3 14-inch diameter trees at, I think, 30 feet high to make a cord of wood. I've got 60 years worth of wood. Now I got all this free from different locations off Facebook Marketplace. I just got 2 new notifications today saying they're giving away firewood. So if I wanted to go get more, I could. I don't think I'll ever touch the woods. Once we got here, I had to find a way to heat the camper. And so I built a outdoor heat exchanger. A little bit of hard to explain, but easy in mindset. And I actually watched another guy who did it on YouTube, and he put a thermometer up to the heat exchanger thingy, and it, like 200 degrees coming into the house. Did a great job, kept us in the camper until January. So we had a heat source outside pumping heat into the camper with no electricity. It was great, but no, can't do it. So I guess we froze to death there. And then the one that aggravated me the most was this woman just went all over Facebook and YouTube telling everybody that I wasn't listening to her. She said her husband is a well guy. He digs wells for a living. Yeah, what I did was I bought a 110 volt so I could use my generator well pump off Amazon. The first thing people say is, you can't buy a 110 well pump, deep well pump. They don't sell them. Well, pretty amazing. I bought one. I don't know how I did it if they don't sell them, but I did. I bought it. Once I showed everybody what it was and how it worked, and I plugged it in a generator and it worked. This was still at Mom's house. This lady says, you cannot run well pumps that long. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to fill a 275 gallon IBC tank. She says well pumps are designed to turn on, fill a pressurized tank, and shut off. Which I know that's what they do, but they are not designed to do that. That's actually very hard on a well pump. That constant kicking on and kicking off is very hard. I was on a submarine. I was a machinist mate. So I was an A-ganger, and that's what we did. We worked on pumps. So these kind of pumps are designed to run. They don't want to be turned on and off. They are actually cooled by the water, so it's important that water's going through them. But the motor is going to burn out when you're constantly surging it like that. So she just told everybody on the planet that I wasn't listening to her. I ended up having to block her because, I mean, it was just getting ridiculous. She was cussing and trying to get my attention. I wish today I could get back with her and say, look, I guess got me pretty far. Now, here's what the thing is. I have 2 pumps. The first one I put in is a 4-inch diameter pump. And then I realized the well needed some work. So I put in a boot. I forget what it's called, but it's a boot that you have to slide down there, and it keeps the well casing from crumbling down and making a big mess. It's a secondary well casing. So once I put the boot in there, the 4-inch diameter well pump is just a tad too big if all the screens are on. If I took the screens off, it would work. And I actually saw that on a YouTube video that you can take those screens off. I was afraid I could get it down there, but if I ever had to get it out, I wouldn't be able to get it out. So that pump lasted a year, and it's sitting in the camper. I still have it. It runs fine. And I bought a 2-inch pump. That pump has been in there 2 years this coming spring. It's January now, so, and it shows no sign of wearing out. Even if I had to pull it out every 5 or 6 years, the pump's $180. I don't even know if it's $180. It might be $150. It's not that expensive. Now, the thing is when I asked her, well, what can I do? Well, there's nothing you can do. You have to have a pressurized tank. What I ended up having to do was I just ended up having to spend tons of money on a solar-powered DC pump. The problem with the DC pump is it has brushes on it, and you'd always have to pull it out all the time to replace the brushes. So one of the reasons I bring this up is I've been watching my videos for the first 5 days I was here, and I named them. First day off grid, second day off grid, third day off grid. And I was just kind of reminiscing about all the work that we got done and all the work that had to be done. So many people had an opinion on this place and none of them had a positive outlook on it. It just couldn't be done. Now you got to remember, a lot of the folks that said I couldn't do it were living in vans. That was the majority of my audience at the time because I was a nomad. So nomads were following me. So nomads who have figured out a way to downsize their life, live with basically nothing in a van in a national forest, are telling me I can't do it. I thought it was incredible. As I'm watching these videos, I get a comment in the comment section. I haven't gotten a comment in the comment section that says you can't do something in a long time. So the other day, I reported that we had a condensation building up in the attic, and I have some ideas on how to fix it. And I'll put a up next box at the end of this video. It'll pop up next to my face. You can watch that video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some holes in the side of the house and put some vents in it, and then that condensation should go away. When I was up there, I didn't see any mold. So I was very fortunate that we caught it in time. So I bought some mold killer just in case there is mold up there, and I'm going to spray everything. Once I get the holes cut, I'm going to spray everything, make sure everything's coated with this mold killer, and it also prevents mold. Now, I bought this because there are professionals who actually go around doing this. This is an actual job, and this is the chemical they use. Mold in the attic is actually a very common problem because nowadays in newer homes, they seal them up really tight. Well, somebody commented that you can't kill mold. It's impossible. Your house is destroyed. You should just, well, burn it down and build a new one. If you live in a house like this and you have insurance, you have to make an insurance claim. I don't even understand this. It's in an attic. Mold dies at, I think, 140 degrees. You can Google this. Well, if you get in an attic in the hot sun in the summertime, attic can get up to 150, 160 degrees. It's like bed bugs. Everybody says you can't kill bed bugs. Well, you can if you get them hot enough. Same thing with mold. If I have a mold problem, what I will do is I'll go up there in the middle of summer in July, I'll turn the buddy heater on up there, and I'll get it up to 200 degrees, and it'll kill anything in there. So no, I don't have any worries that we have a mold problem. I have to destroy my house, and I can't live in this house anymore. People are so negative. They just give up. They don't Google anything. Google has the answers. Just look it up. So if you'll click this up next box, take that video I was talking about where I discovered the problem. So I hope I can inspire you to stop saying can't, because can't never did anything. Thanks for watching.